Welcome to our Business Track of the Data Science Salon YouTube channel. This is a presentation by Deborah Berebichez, data scientist at Metis. She explains in non-technical language why it's important to create businesses environments where everyone contributes to and learns from a company's data in a collaborative place. She also explains how people and data can work together to create better businesses together. Enjoy.
It's such a pleasure and an honor for me to be here and to interact with so many women in tech and women in data science, which brings me to wanting to share a little bit about my background, because I think it can help other women who are thinking of joining the ranks of women in data science and women in tech in general. I grew up in Mexico City in a community that discouraged women from pursuing careers in science and technology. I was told from a very young age that my curiosity for math and physics, which I loved at the time, was not really appropriate, and that I should better pick something more feminine, like a career in communications or marketing. And so when it came time to go to college, everybody had told me so much that I couldn't do it, that I became very insecure about my math skills. And I learned to hide my love for physics. So I started studying philosophy in Mexico City. And then 2 years down the road, I decided that my hunger to know about the universe and the world was not going to go away. So I applied to schools in the US where I had learned that you could study 2 majors. And I was extremely fortunate because my parents couldn't have afforded to send me to a school in the US when universities in Mexico were an eighth of the cost. So Brandeis University, a small school in Massachusetts, offered me to take some advanced placement tests and to write an essay about my passion for physics. And when I did, they offered me a full scholarship that allowed me to go to Brandeis as a transfer student with 2 more years to go. When I arrived at Brandeis, I saw the snow for the first time in my life. I arrived in the winter, and I had the courage to take a very large astronomy class, which was my dream. And this class was very large, and there was very little math. And I sat at the very back of the classroom, and the teaching assistant was a graduate student from India by the name of Rupesh. And Rupesh and I became very good friends because I would ask him all kinds of questions about the world and physics well beyond the homework. One day, we were walking in Harvard Square, and I said to Rupesh, I don't want to die without trying to do physics. So we called his advisor, who met me at his office, handed me a book called Div, Grad, and Curl, which was vector calculus in 3 dimensions, an alien language for me at the time. And he said, if in 2 months, by the end of the summer, you're able to master this material, we'll let you skip through the first 2 years of the physics major so that you can enter in your junior year classes and finish the whole BA in 2 years, because I was a transfer student and my scholarship only lasted for 2 years. So Rupesh devoted his entire summer to mentoring me and to make my dream come true of studying physics and math. And we didn't have enough time, so everything was very quickly, calculus in a weekend, classical mechanics in 3 days, etc. And I passed the exam, and I was able to graduate with highest honors from Brandeis. And the reason why I tell this story is because Rupesh shared with me that the only way I could ever pay him back is doing this with someone else in the world. Because that's exactly what an old man that used to go to Darjeeling, the town where he came from in India, and teach him and his sisters math, English, and the tabla, the musical instrument. So that's how my mission in life started, to encourage and inspire other young women, like some of you, who want to pursue and succeed in careers in STEM. After Brandeis, I went to Stanford, and I ended up working with the Nobel Prize winner, Steve Chu, and I became the first Mexican woman to get a PhD in physics at Stanford, which showed me that with that privilege, I had the responsibility to pass that favor forward and be a mentor for a lot of young women. So if any of you are out there are interested in talking to me further, please reach out to me. I'm in all the social media channels you can expect. So let's start. My talk for today has to do with the work I do at Metis. Metis is a data science training company, and we train people in boot camps, but we also do corporate training. And this has to do with how to empower your business through data science literacy. So we all know that data is everywhere, right? We see it, all the covers of the big magazines are touting data science to be the sexiest job of the 21st century, and data is here and there, and in healthcare, and in Netflix and Amazon, and everybody wants your data, everybody has your data, everyone is sharing your data. So what can data do? Data is solving a lot of the problems and issues that surround our world these days, from predicting the spread of diseases like COVID-19 to predicting fashion trends like what is the new black, all the way to optimizing food delivery from grocery stores. So data is really permeating all our businesses. But it's interesting, when Forrester did a survey of thousands of people, and they figured out that not everybody that works with data recognizes what they do as working with data. So here's a pop quiz for all of you. Which one of these would you consider data? I mean, the consumer confidence report in the US, definitely data. How about the weather? Yes, it's each day has a different climate, and that's a data point. How about my last purchase on Amazon? Definitely it's data, because Amazon uses it to predict what I will want to buy before even I know it. And how about an episode of The Simpsons on YouTube, the one where he predicted the existence of the Higgs boson? Well, that's data too, because if you look at it, you know the time at which it was uploaded, how many minutes it lasts. You can actually mine the speech with natural language processing and see what themes are occurring in it. So the correct answer here is all of the above. Data is really everywhere and in all forms: text, numbers, images, songs, etc. Now, we all use data products. This one is Waze. A lot of you recognize it. But not everybody stops. Actually, very few people stop to think about all the technical manipulations of data that go behind the scenes to make these data products work. So nobody cares or thinks about Google Maps, for example, receiving data from each one of our cell phones and using historical analysis to make predictions and what assumptions the model has, etc. However, a perfect or the most amazing data products are the ones where the data sort of fades to the background, and we're able to just look and experience and use the product without even thinking about the technical details of it behind the scenes. Now, a lot of people think of data literacy as training for the experts, like the people who already are data scientists and know about machine learning. Well, let's get them specialized in deep learning and some of the more sophisticated algorithms that exist today. But if you think about it, data literacy has to reach workers at every level of the supply chain. So, for example, in old Disney World, when you went and bought something at the Disney store, like the picture on the left, the cashier person would just ring your purchase and you would get a paper receipt, and that was that. These days, Disney is one of the most completely encompassing surveillance worlds that exist today. And so basically you're wearing a magic band, like the picture on the right, that knows about your behavior in the park, the paths you take for the different different rides, everything you buy. It takes a history of your purchases so that it can predict what attractions to send you on the app that you'll want to see next, etc. So now a single purchase is a data signal that goes to many different departments within the Disney park, and that take different actions based on your behavior. Similarly, how many of us have experienced at airports when we look at the smiley faces or the frowny faces and we have to give feedback? It used to be that janitors had like zero contact with data. But now they actually, instead of manually going to check the bathrooms at a defined schedule, they now get a signal on their watch that tells them when there have been too many frowny faces and the bathroom needs a real-time checkup. So everybody at different levels of different workplaces and levels of sophistication is interacting with data. And that's why data literacy really should be made at all the levels within a company, not just at the senior or the tech department levels. People are saying that up to 80% of jobs in the future will be data-driven. So we have to educate and train our workforce. Universities are failing at getting students to really come out with skills that can be transferable to interpret, work, and analyze with data in their jobs. I love this quote. Organizations that leverage data to generate insights outperform peers by 85% in sales growth and more than 25% in gross margin. That's by McKinsey, by the way. And so we have plenty of examples out there of companies that are data-driven and that incorporate a data-driven process in all their daily operations, and they're really outperforming their non-data literate competitors. Some key findings that I think are pretty relevant is that 85% of data literate people say they're performing very well at work when compared to 54% of the wider workforce. So people are happy to have data to generate insights that then take them to make some action that will be an intelligent action rather than one that is based in gut feeling or past experience or opinion, which obviously can lead people astray. 94% of respondents said that using data in their current role helps them do their jobs better. And also they believe that greater data literacy gives them more credibility. That's 82%. And finally, we see that in the US, there's a large appetite for people to learn. People at all levels in a company want to learn about data and how can data impact their work. So 78% of business decision makers would be willing to invest more time and energy into improving their data skills. However, the problem is that when we look at what's out there, companies indicate us by taking these surveys that fewer than 10% of firms have advanced insight-driven choices and practices. And so really we're looking at a dire landscape in terms of how many companies are basing their decisions on data-driven insights. So if you think about companies such as Amazon, if you want a product, but they're out of that product, Amazon has perfected the art of recommending a similar product that can satisfy your needs. Now think of a company where you're looking to buy a specific product, a microwave oven for your house, and you go, and when they're out of a specific line, imagine they're unable to recommend a similar product that will satisfy your needs. That company will probably lose your business. So it's easy to see how when data is sort of in the veins of the processes of a company, it can really be an effective way to increase sales. Other key findings are that 24% of decision makers are fully confident in their ability to read, work with, analyze, and argue with data, which is, by the way, the definition of being data literate. And this was out of a project done at MIT that the definition came about. So only 24% of the respondents feel that they are data literate. Also, 32% of C-suite leaders feel that they can make decisions based on data. And only 21% of people ages 16 to 24 feel that they're data literate. That's why a lot of boot camps are full of people who do not feel like their university education gave them the right skills to perform with data-driven decisions in their jobs. And that's why a lot of universities are now looking to integrate data science boot camps and teachings to their curriculum. Now, as I said just a moment ago, data literacy is the ability to read, work with, analyze, and argue with data. It's a skill. We can all train to get that skill. There's one thing that's really important, and that is driving growth by delegating with data. So I really like this company called Cooker. It's a Dutch company that builds a boiling tap water apps for the homes. And it has hundreds of thousands of customers in Europe mostly. And the COO at the company said something really interesting. He says, if you want to be agile and growing the way we've been doing, because they've been growing so fast and in such a strong manner, he says employees must be trusted to make their own decisions. So what he did is he enabled employees at all the levels in the company to have the right tools and the right data to make empowered decisions. So they no longer have to seek a manager to approve if they can change the schedule or for an installation or something. They have all the data needed to make those decisions themselves. So they're getting more acquainted with the entire process from beginning to end, and they form relationships that are deeper in nature with their clients so that they can take a more active role in maintaining that client happy and satisfied. Now, I wrote an article about the wrong ways and the right ways in which companies are creating data-driven businesses. And these I know from what Metis has done in our corporate training. I can't say the name for this one, but the wrong way was a corporate training that in which we participated, where let's call it super big deal company. And it was a large company where the CTO, they had purchased another smaller company, and the CTO did not agree with the chief information officer of the other smaller company on their data policy and governance and what to do with the data. One of them wanted to build a data lake that integrates basically all the data in raw form in a central location. But the CIO thought that was going to be really complex and difficult because the data was needed at all levels of the company, and it would be more difficult for the layperson to access that data in raw form. And so he advocated for some Python training. In the meantime, they couldn't agree on what tools to purchase. So they brought in training from us, and middle-level managers, who were the decision makers, didn't really get input from the data analysts themselves on what were the things that needed their help immediately, such as focusing on automating the uploading of information to an Excel spreadsheet, or building the recommendation engine. And so they decided on a very basic Python training, but they really focused on buzzwords like, oh, Python is out there, not really knowing what the goal of it was. Nobody agreed at any of these levels about the structure of the database and the tools that were going to be used. So in the three important factors that every company has, data, tools, and techniques, and by techniques I mean the people that are the experts that know how to work with data, they didn't agree at any one of these levels. And so it did not go well. However, the right way to create a data-driven business. And it went so well with our training with them that they actually made it public. And this is a training we did for CMA, which is a boutique strategy consulting firm. And what they did before hiring us to come and train them is they identified what were the needs related to data that were, the most prevalent across the organization. They talked with everyone at all the different levels, and they had a very clear goal and metrics of what a successful training would be. They said, we're going to start with Python because we believe that a lot of people are doing their jobs in Excel, but we really, want Python to automate all those processes. And because they did a cost-benefit analysis in terms of cost of the platform and the energy and the time that it would take to learn it and what the gains would be. And they decided to go with that. And they got help for the training. So they looked for experts that could train them. And then we actually customized some of the training we tailored it to their data needs. And eventually it became such a successful training that the students themselves became so proficient that they started to design new ways of automating their processes. So that was really good. So pulling all these together, the wrong way in which businesses adopt a data literacy or a data focus is in just focusing on the experts, on bringing the training to the IT department or the data science department that talks to no one else and it works in a silo, and not sharing the data literacy with the rest of the organization. Instead, what should be done to do this correctly is increase the awareness of everybody at the company, allowing, like I said, from the janitor in the company all the way to the CEO to get the right tools, the right data, and the right techniques at all these different levels to perform their jobs better. Now, something that is not done in an effective way typically is educating the decision makers. Many times the decision makers are not technical people, and so they lack the power to decide what should the tool display, what is the kind of information that I need the most, without clogging them with graphs and visualizations that can mislead them into making the wrong decisions. Instead, we should have conversation with those decision makers and improve their processes by affecting the right tools and data in a way that is specifically geared and tailored towards the needs. So if a decision maker only needs 4 factors to make a decision, like maybe they need the schedule in which a delivery is going to be made, the available substitutions, the description, the address where they're delivering, and the description of the profile of the person on how they want their food delivered, for example. As long as they have only those 4 factors in front of them, they can click a button that says deliver now and complete that. The third one is stagnation of the experts. Many experts cannot grow from there and from their jobs, and then we don't train them in the new trends and that are out there and new tools that they can bring back to the company. So what we propose is to enrich the skills of the experts by bringing in leadership and training and instilling like office hours, and everybody that gets trained should have it in their incentives to train other people in the company. Data science should not remain a silo within a company. It's very clear that the more people that have awareness of the data practices and the decisions that the company does at scale, the more the growth of the company will be. Finally, we want an employee-friendly and data-driven culture. I know a lot of companies experience some frustration when they're trying to change the culture to one that is data-driven. And so we want to raise awareness about the benefits of making data-based decisions. We want to also find data champions in the company that are going to be the ones that are sort of asking people what they need to do their jobs and not pushing an agenda like a data activist, but rather than that, pulling people into the process of making decisions with data with incentives, such as you're going to get your job done faster, more effectively, and you're going to gain, more points with management because you were able to do all these other things. You want to embed data practices in the entire company, all the operations. You want to break down the silos, and you can do, lunch and learn or office hours once a week with the data team or with the data champion, so that everybody at a different level can communicate and ask what they need. You want to build a community that is driven by data insights. And you want to empower the decision makers with the right tools, the right data, and the right techniques at the right time. How should your company get started? You should first establish where it's at today. You should then segment the workforce. You're not going to train a sophisticated AI person in the basics of automation, and you're not going to train person that manages phone calls in a center in all the deep secrets of deep learning. So you have to segment the training into where it's most important, and again do a cost benefit analysis of where data driven decisions are needed the most. Tailor the trainings to the business context, balance big vision things with break it into different, more smaller steps that give you the tactics of how to do the training, and then formalize, now that the training has been done, formalize that with learning management, incentives, and the employee experience so that everybody has the right incentives aligned with the data-driven culture. And then get external help to provide the right curriculum and the right training for your workforce. So these are the steps that in our experience at Metis can help any company transform into the digital literacy era. And you can take our principles and our processes and create the right curriculum for your company so that whatever the goals are, you can do them in a more efficient manner so that the growth of the company will follow the most optimal path. Thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to take questions and comments.
That was a presentation by Deborah Berebichez, Chief Data Scientist at Metis, on why it's important to create business environments where everyone contributes and learns from the company's data while translating it into improved business practices. I hope you enjoyed that, and please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Thank you.